The 10 most emotional WWE moments in wrestling history. Number 10. Hulk Hogan vs. The Rock, WrestleMania 18. The first moment on our list is the feud match between Hulk Hogan and The Rock. During the build-up for this match, The Rock had disrespected Hogan in front of his son, and thus ensued a legendary back and forth between The Rock and the New World Order. The New World Order, comprised of Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall, refused to let The Rock get away with what he had done to Hogan, and proceeded to jump The Rock multiple times, and vice versa, until finally the fans had an official Hulk Hogan vs. The Rock match to look forward to at WrestleMania. After the fight finished, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash rushed to the ring and beat Hulk Hogan, ejecting them from the New World Order. The Rock returned and defended Hogan. After Nash and Hall were ejected from the ring, The Rock gave Hogan a huge show of respect and urged him to pose the way that only Hogan could. Number 9. Jerry Lawler's on-air heart attack. It's a common understanding that a majority of wrestling is staged, especially in the case of all drama and politics that happen backstage. So a lot of the time fans assume that any drama that takes place during a live show are all a part of the experience. This is very true for announcer Jerry Lawler, who suffered a full-blown heart attack on air during a live episode of Raw. Now Jerry wasn't always the most popular of announcers within the internet wrestling community, but people were able to put the hate aside and root for him like they had never done before. Luckily, Lawler ended up being fine, and would return to the show 2 months later. Number 8. Montreal Screwjob. Labeled as arguably the most talked about match in the history of professional wrestling by longtime industry writer Mike Johnson, the Montreal Screwjob instantly became one of the most notorious bouts to ever grace the WWF ring. The Montreal Screwjob was an extreme controversial incident in which the WWF owner, Vince McMahon, and WWF employees covertly manipulated the predetermined outcome of the match between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels at the 1997 Survivor Series. The incident occurred without Hart's knowledge and resulted in him losing his title to Michaels in his last match with the WWF before departing with the rival promotion at the WCW. This match is considered to be an off-screen betrayal of Hart, who at the time was the longest tenured and most popular performer. Number 7. Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth reunite at WrestleMania 7. If you hadn't already admitted to yourself that wrestling was the days of our lives for men, then this next moment sure woke you up from that fantasy. Having been labeled the moment catered more for the female audience, the reunion of Randy Savage and his ride-or-die girlfriend, Miss Elizabeth, was definitely a tearful moment for the romantic sap in all of us. Leading up to this moment, Randy had turned against Miss Elizabeth and abandoned her for Queen Sherry Martel. Sad and heartbroken Miss Elizabeth continued to watch his fights without his knowledge. Fast forward to WrestleMania 7 with Randy facing the Ultimate Warrior in a retirement match. Randy would go to lose the match, and Sherry, not visibly upset with Randy, began to kick him mercilessly while he was down on the mat. In that moment, Randy realized his mistake, and both him and Elizabeth embraced for the happy moment the fans all around the world wanted. Number 6. Ric Flair's retirement match. With Ric Flair being almost 60 years old, everyone knew it was only a matter of time before he was going to be forced to retire. And when the WWE announced a storyline for Ric where he would be forced to retire the next time he lost a match, fans around the world knew it was his time. It was only fitting that his final match would be at WrestleMania against Shawn Michaels. Even though fans knew that Ric was set up for a loss, they still sucked in everything that was happening. Every hit and near fall was met with cheers and shouts. When the match was finally coming to a close, it was clear that it was about to happen. With Michaels preparing for sweet chin music to finish the match, the camera zoomed in on his face as he looked Flair in the eye and said the words, "I'm sorry, I love you." Immediately after the ref smacked the mat for the last time, the whole stadium went quiet as people just witnessed the end of an era. Number 5. Undertaker hugs Ric Flair. We all know and love Undertaker for his silent but deadly persona, and his 21 victory streak just cemented the fact that he was the baddest guy in wrestling. But what was probably one of the most memorable Undertaker moments is when he showed his softer side at the Ric Flair tribute. Ric had just come off his loss to Shawn Michaels and was now being forced to retire. After all the official speeches were done and Raw went off the air, something incredibly unpredictable happened. Only in a exclusive video, later released by Raw, did it show Undertaker come out to his theme song, walk up to Ric Flair in the ring, shake his hand, then embrace him. The respect was felt around the world, and it remains a touching moment between the two of the greatest wrestlers to ever step in the ring. Number 4. Benoit's murder-suicide. When the news first originally hit that Benoit and his family had been murdered, tragedy hit the WWE. Of course, the WWE did what they always did for their fallen comrades and held a very touching memorial in his name. They cleared the ring, and each of the other wrestlers began speaking fond memories of the deceased wrestler. It wasn't until later that details emerged that the Benoit family had actually been the victims of a murder-suicide orchestrated by Benoit himself. This news outraged the public. McMahon then quickly gave a video statement informing the fans before the next program took to the air. The WWE then went on an editing rampage to completely erase Benoit from their history. Sadly, even today, fans still remember the incident as one of the darkest blemishes on the history of wrestling. Number 3. Daniel Bryan winning the WWE World title. The world of wrestling may never again see something like the rise of Daniel Bryan. Bryan was a very real and unscripted underdog, but still won over millions of fans in an extremely organic way. His support refused to yield, and only grew in numbers until it forced the WWE's hand, no longer allowing them to ignore the superstar power of Daniel Bryan. Bryan's rise to fame was no cakewalk, but fans continued to push and pray that the company would come to their senses and give him the WrestleMania moment fans believed he so greatly deserved. Bryan was just too likable to ignore any longer, and not just as a wrestler, but as a person. People didn't see him as some larger-than-life wrestler, but as an average Joe, a real Rocky Balboa of wrestling, and they loved him. Number 2. Lillian Garcia's post-9/11 national anthem. Whether you are American or not, most people, if not everyone, remembers where they were on September 11, 2001. It was the day that changed the world forever. The US up to this point had been a beacon of safety to the rest of the world. We were untouchable. That all changed that day and the whole world felt it. But McMahon, being the one to always spit in the face of adversity, decided to have a live show just 2 days after the incident. He knew that a lot of people were still afraid. This would be the largest gathering of people since the towers fell, and at this point Americans weren't sure if we were still being attacked or not. Still, the show sold out, and Lillian Garcia stood center ring as she belted out what a lot of people at the time claimed to be one of the best renditions of the national anthem. For just 1 second, all the people of the world stood together as one in mourning, and in support of their American family. Number 1. Conor the Crusher's tribute video. The world was first introduced to Conor the Crusher Machalik in 2012 after posting a video on YouTube about how he wanted to meet his favorite wrestler, Daniel Bryan. The video quickly went viral, and the WWE and Bryan soon set a date for the two to meet. Conor was diagnosed with pediatric brain cancer and was only 7 years old at the time of the video. Fans, of course, were used to this type of thing. Thanks to the WWE's close work with charities like Make-A-Wish, fans assumed this would be the last time they would see or hear about Conor Machalik. Fast forward to WrestleMania 30, and there was little Conor cheering on Bryan all the way to his victory. As soon as it was official, Bryan headed out of the ring and straight to Conor before anyone else. Sadly, Conor passed not even 3 weeks after WrestleMania. People were crushed, and for the first time, the WWE put together a tribute video for Conor, making him the first non-wrestler to get a tribute video and the first person ever to receive the Warrior Award at the 2015 WWE Hall of Fame. So there you have it, the 10 most emotional WWE moments in wrestling history. We here at Spacebound hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.